Indeed, we are rolling. Hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first official episode of the Chasing the Racing podcast. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Kyle Young, here to provide you with all of your racing entertainment, news, information, whatever it may be that you are looking for to get out of this show. Extremely excited to get this rocking and rolling here tonight. This has been long overdue. Been hoping to get this out to the masses a little bit earlier than what we are currently doing things. But this is a fantastic time to get this show out to the public and to get it to you, to all of you racing enthusiasts that are out there. This is, while it is starting to become the end of the racing season, it is a very, very important and popular time of the racing season to be doing something like this. So it is extremely awesome to finally get this launched and to start this new journey. So to fill you guys in a little bit on what to expect on the Chasing the Racing podcast moving forward, this is going to be, or what I'm hoping is going to be, your one-stop shop for just about everything that is racing related. From as small as local four-cylinder and bandolero racing to as big as the World of Outlaws, NASCAR, whatever it may be. 2 wheels, 4 wheels, dirt, pavement, straight line, circle track, whatever it is, we will have it here on this show. There's nothing that's off limits. There is absolutely nothing that we won't take an opportunity to discuss. It's going to be great, and it should be a lot of fun. A few of the main reasons why I really wanted to get involved in this and to start this journey is mainly, first off, is as of late, I've become a massive fan of talk radio shows and podcasts over the last few months, and it's kind of sparked some of my interest. I used to be on here a lot as a gaming streamer, but I stepped away from that to do some other things, and it's kind of re-sparked my passion to get my voice and to get my opinions out there with things. So I thought that this was the best way to do it. It allows me to share the love for something that I have an extreme love for, very much, and to just to really to get my thoughts and my opinions out in a way that I know how to do it best. So, really, there are 3 major reasons why I wanted to do this. Other than that, the first one, as I had just kind of mentioned, is I want to create an area where race fans can get together to enjoy the sport for its entirety. I personally, while I do have my favorites and my non-favorites, racing to me is extremely important in many different aspects, in just about every aspect. So I want to have a place where we talk about absolutely everything. Like I said, from local bandoleros and legends and four-cylinder racing to the World of Outlaws to NASCAR to every top echelon of racing that is out there, I want to incorporate into this show. There's nothing that is off limits. There is nothing that will be ignored. It all will be covered here. Main reason number 2 for bringing this show together is I kind of want to create a place where I can just be me. And by no means am I saying that there's absolutely anything wrong with this, but a lot of media outlets nowadays, they give you the facts, they give you what did and didn't happen, the numbers. They don't really give you the emotions, the feelings, the true opinions, and that's what I want to do. I want to talk about the people that I do like, my favorite drivers, the guys that I don't like, how I really think about things. I'm not doing this with anybody or any affiliation. Nobody's backing me. Nobody's behind me. It's all me. So I'm going to use that freedom to be able to talk about what I want to, how I want to do it, and whenever I want to do it. So if you're looking for a politically correct, straight down the line, no opinions on either side type of show, probably not going to be the place for you to hang out. I'm just letting you know now. I will get emotional. I will get involved. It's just the vision that I created and what I'm going to stick to. And being me is the best person that I know how to be. And that's all that I'm really interested in being. Number 3, third and final main reason why I wanted to get this show rolling is I want to really give my local racing scene a place to shine. Where I'm at, I live in Central Square, New York. I'm about 20 minutes north of Syracuse. It's such a hotbed for racing. I say to so many people that if I pick any direction that I want to go in a 6-hour radius, there's so much racing to be had over here in the northeast part of the United States and up in Canada as well. And I want to give that a place to shine. One of the most popular things in my area and to me in racing are Northeast Big Block Modifieds. It's popular up in this area, but it's not popular as a massive whole and could be grown more to become more popular than what it is. Yeah, I'm just some small little outlet for that to happen, but putting this out there to the masses does allow that to happen, no matter how big or how small of an area that it is, or of a source that I am. So that's a lot of why I have decided to start this show. I hope that we can get it to grow and cater to as many different racing markets as we possibly can. But for now, we'll see how it goes and keep on rolling from there. So before we really jump deep into what I want to talk about for the show, I just want to give a little bit more information about me for those of you who do not know who I am. As I said, my name is Kyle Young. I'm 23 years old. I live in Central Square, New York. I have been a massive racing fan for basically my entire life. As of right now, I am an extreme race chaser. I started keeping track of the races that I go to in 2015, and since then I have been to 422 different races. Let me think. 87 different racetracks across 11 different states and 2 different Canadian provinces. It's something that I enjoy so much. Traveling, racing, seeing new racetracks, new race cars, new race car drivers. It's awesome. It's hard for me to put in words how much fun it is for me to do that, but I do it. I very much enjoy it, and I have absolutely no plans of stopping. So why not share it with some people that also are interested in the same things. I have done some racing myself. I started racing back in 2013. I ran 2 full seasons in the 4-cylinder Superstock class at my home track, Burton Speedway in Burton, New York on Friday nights. We dabbled a little bit with some racing at our sister track, Fulton Speedway in Fulton, New York on Saturday nights every now and then. First year of racing, I finished second in points at Burton. I won 3 feature races, 1 at Burton, 2 at the sister track, Fulton. Had a handful of heat wins. 2014 was another good year. Changed ownership, changed cars. Finished third in the points that year. Didn't win any feature races that year. I did come close. I gave one away. But no feature wins. Had another great year in points. Started doing the same in 2015, and I think right around June, July, so sort of kind of halfway through the year, I parted ways with the guy that I was racing for, went back to spending time with my dad and my brother at the racetrack as they were starting to get into racing again more themselves. And I made some sporadic starts in a Sportsman modified in the novice divisions. Since then, I've run 3 feature races. All 3 of them were top 10s, 2 of them were top 5s, so that's pretty cool. My brother currently races now. He races in the Sportsman Modified division. He hasn't really had a home track all this year. With his work schedule, he's kind of bounced around with some things, but hasn't solidified anything hasn't solidified anything for this year. Hoping to do something more for next year on a more regular basis, but he has had he's been able to travel a few different places and run some different areas as well. Since I stopped I won't say full-time, I'll say weekly for lack of a better term. I've done some sporadic starts in the Sportsman, like I said. I have done some things in 4 cylinders since then. I ran 4 enduro races at the beginning of this year. Sadly, I lost my car. It was destroyed, and I haven't been able to get back into it since. So hopefully, as things change throughout the off-season and through the winter, we'll be able to get more into that. And instead of just reporting on racing that I'm watching and seeing, I can report to you guys about racing that I am also participating in. So that's really about the majority of the kind of preview type things that I am looking to show to you guys before we jump in. The only other thing that I would like to mention beforehand is, now me personally, I'm more into longer podcasts than shorter ones. I listen to a handful of podcasts as I work. I do full-time work for Grubhub, Uber, and Lyft. So I'm in my car a lot. I drive a lot. Long podcasts work great for me. I don't really know how the majority of you feel about long or short podcasts. I'm just going to kind of wing it tonight and just see how it goes. And then once we get through the show, we will see how it plays out, kind of get some opinions from you guys and see whether we need to shorten things up, make it longer, if it doesn't matter, whatever. So that's definitely one of the things that I will 100% be looking for opinions on. Hopefully those of you that check this out either on the live stream tonight as we are recording this or on the replay on YouTube will be able to provide some feedback for me to do that. So with all that being said, I think it's time that we dive into some racing coverage. That is exactly why we are here, so we might as well live up to the name. This past weekend, what we're going to start off with is we are going to start off with a recap of the Outlaw 200 weekend at the Fulton Speedway in Fulton, New York, my Saturday night home track, as I mentioned earlier in the show. This is the biggest weekend of the year for Fulton Speedway. They bring in tons and tons of cars for a 2-day racing show. I believe on Friday they said they had somewhere around 210, 211 cars, and the numbers ended up, the whole numbers for the weekend ended up going up because not all of the modified drivers that were there on Saturday were there on Friday, so they bumped the numbers up. Of course, the support divisions left out on Friday, so in all reality, I'd say you probably had roughly around 230 to 240 unique race cars that showed up to participate this past weekend. As I said, 2-day show. They ran a handful of divisions on Friday. Saturday was the big 200-lapper for the big block modifieds, as well as the Dirt Car Sportsman Series 50-lap race. So we'll dive right in and fill you all in on what happened at the Fulton Speedway this weekend. First feature race on the docket was the EV Energy Novice Sportsman Championship race. They ran for 20 laps, which is 5 laps more than their 15-lap regular feature. The Novice Sportsman Division is one of the regular classes at Fulton Speedway. They bumped just about everybody's features up with it being a special weekend, kind of it's their penultimate weekend of the year, so to make it a little bit more special and more entertaining, everybody gets extra laps. So they were the first feature on the card. The race was really dominated by Richard Murtaugh and Cody Manita. The two of them have, I would safely say, won about at least half of the features in the Novice Sportsman Division this year at Fulton. And in my personal opinion, I think the two of them are more than ready to move up to the regular Sportsman Division. They did try to compete, or try to make the show for the Dirt Car Sportsman Series race. It's a little bit confusing with how the rules work with that because you would think that a novice sportsman driver wouldn't move up to the normal Sportsman Division but still run the novice class. That being because this was a Dirt Car Sportsman Series Tour race, not a Fulton Speedway Sportsman race. So the track allowed them to try to attempt for the Dirt Car Sportsman Series race if they wanted to, but they could still run the novice race if they chose. So that's what Richard and Cody did. The two of them had a really good race throughout the entirety of it. Richard took the lead early, was then challenged in the middle portions of the race by Cody Manita. Manita took the lead, held on to it for quite a while, and then Richard found something to contest back with him. Got a little sketchy at some point. Some contact was made on the backstretch, probably about a lap or two before Richard got around him. But Richard was able to make the pass around him, and once he made that pass, he held on to that and did not look backwards. Got the win over Cody Manita. Peyton Talbot finished in third. Josh Van Tassel was fourth, and Michael Grover rounding out the top five. Pat Nolan, Andrew Stadelman, Matt Richardson, Brett Sears, and Mike Dawson, the top 10 in that Sportsman feature. Richard was extremely happy in victory lane. He said all offseason last year, this event haunted him. He gave it up late in the race, had what he felt was the best opportunity to win that race, and gave it up late, and it haunted him. The Outlaw 200 is a big weekend, not just for the Fulton Speedway area, but for everybody in that area, in this area for Northeast Racing. So whether it's the big block 200 lapper or it's the 4 cylinders or novice sportsman class, everybody wants to win. Richard being one of them, had to wait a year for his redemption, but he got his redemption and picked up the feature win. I would be fully expecting both him and Cody Manita to move up to the regular sportsman division full-time if they do come back to Fulton next year. I think they have more than shown that they are ready to move up to the regular sportsman division. It's a big learning curve. There are a lot of talented guys in the normal sportsman class, but with the car control and the success that the two of them have been able to show, over the year, I definitely think that's a jump that they are ready to make. The next feature after that was the Fleet Repairs Truck and Trailer 4-cylinder open event. Great turnout of cars for this class. 4-cylinders do not run on a regular basis at Fulton Speedway anymore. They used to back when I was racing on a weekly basis, but after I had kind of fallen out, other people did the same. Car count started to dwindle, and they ended up dropping them off of the weekly card. So, unfortunately, they don't race anymore on a weekly basis at Fulton, but they do get a great car count for the Outlaw 200 weekend. They open the rule book up, and they call this a 4-cylinder open event. So, basically, if you have a 4-cylinder race car and you race it on a regular basis, you're going to be able to come here. You're going to be able to come to Fulton and be able to race without any issues. Burton Speedway, the sister track, does race 4-cylinders on a regular basis. They consider a 4-cylinder super stock class. You're able to do some more things to your car to up the performance in it instead of just running a stock 4-cylinder with street tires and sending it on out. So it allows for guys to work on their vehicles a little bit more, put a little bit higher power in the car, make it a little bit more racier than than what a lot of other places do around the area. So, as I said, a fantastic turnout. Burton usually gets between like 12 and 15 cars on a regular basis. They had to have more than doubled that this weekend at Fulton. 3 full heat races of action, and even with all of the amount of cars that showed up, there was one driver that was head and shoulders above everybody else, and that was Mike Stone. Mike Stone had never seen the Fulton Speedway before, showing up this past weekend. He had a rear-wheel drive Mustang, I believe it was, and he absolutely dominated the night. Won his heat race with ease. He won this feature with ease. Lots of yellows in there to kind of bunch up the field and give him some contestants on restarts. His biggest challenge, I would say, was second place finisher Quinn Wallace, but Quinn could really only kind of hang with him for about a lap. Once everybody kind of got settled in, Mike was gone. So he was the class of the field. He took the checkered flag. Quinn Wallace was second. Jacob Duper finished in third. Trey Palmer fourth. And Chuck Powalczyk, the 2019 Burton Speedway 4-cylinder track champion, finished in fifth. Eric Rowley, Donnie Ryder, Ray Beckler, Joseph Staring, and Jeff Putman were your top 10 finishers in that feature event. The next 2 features on the night were absolutely spectacular. My goodness. The U.S. Air Force Mod Light race, 25 laps in distance, was incredible. 2 drivers outshone everybody else, and that was Clayton Brewer III and Jeff May. Clayton Brewer III is a regular at the Burton Speedway. Well, first off, the Mod Lights are basically the same as far as how they race between the 2 tracks. They are a regular division at the Burton Speedway, but they do not race on a regular basis at Fulton Speedway. Unlike the 4-cylinders, they do race a few events at Fulton every so often, probably about 1 race a month, I would say. And I don't know if they still do it. I feel like they do. I could be completely wrong with that. But at least in the past, they would kind of combine those races together for one champion instead of just splitting it up into 2 because of how few races Fulton runs for the Mod Lights. But that class is full-time at Burton, part-time at Fulton. They had a strong car count about regular, maybe a few cars more than what they usually get at Burton. But Clayton Brewer, the track regular, and Jeff May, who is a Canadian Mod Light driver, stole the show. The two of them were side by side for virtually the entire race. They were coming down towards the end of the race. You really didn't know who was going to pick up the win. There were laps where Jeff was better. There were laps where Clayton was better. And when it was all said and done, it ended up coming down to a photo finish. Jeff May was ripping around the top. Clayton Brewer around the bottom. And that bottom line was able to get Clayton Brewer the victory on Friday night over Jeff May. Justin Williams picked up the third place finish. Mike Mullen was fourth, and Tom Mackey finished in fifth. Tom Mackey is the 2019 Paradise Speedway Mod Light track champion, by the way. Just got to throw that in there real quick. Zach Babcock finished in 6th, Rick Demo 7th, Hunter Lawton 8th, Harley Brown 9th, and Alex Deneau, I'm going to go with, looks like a Canadian name, finished in 10th. That was just a a appetizer, I guess you could say, for what was about to come in the late model finish. That race was incredible. Pit Stop Convenience Stores NLMA late model 50-lap feature. As I said, an amazing race. This is the class that puts on amazing races just about every single week at the Fulton Speedway. Their car counts aren't all that great. They usually get about 10 to 12 cars on a weekly basis, sometimes a little less. Really, I personally think the issue is that they kind of compete with other tracks in New York State that create late models on Saturday nights. There was a night in early May where I was at Genesee Speedway in Batavia, New York, to race my Enduro car, and they had right around 20, if not a little more than 20, late models for their weekly show. So some competition probably has some play in that. No issues getting cars this past weekend with other tracks not racing and with Canadian drivers not having things to race up there. A lot of people came down and made a really, really good turnout for that show. I had thought, and I'm sure a lot of other people thought, that it was just going to be another Charlie Sandercock stomping the field event, and really for the most part it was. He started towards the front, took the lead early, and he didn't really completely run away from the field, but it was pretty obvious that he was the strongest car all night. Nobody could really touch him for the lead, and everybody had just kind of assumed that he was going to take the win. Well, Chad Holman had other ideas. Chad Holman is the track champion for 2019 at the Fulton Speedway. He has won multiple feature races throughout the year, and really a lot of the feature wins that he had were working his way through the field and taking the lead late, and that's exactly what happened this past weekend. Slowly and methodically worked his way through the field, got up to the top 5. I'll be completely honest, I thought he had absolutely no hope of winning that feature race. He was trying a line that I didn't really think was working all that much. He was kind of making small gains on closing in on Charlie, but really just wasn't consistently drilling him in lap after lap after lap, and the distances kept pretty close throughout the majority of the end of the race. But he did not let off the gas pedal until the very end of the race. He pulled the most amazing slide job move I think I have seen all year long. He said in victory lane he did not lift off the gas until he reached turn 4. Drove that car as hard as he could into turn 3, got to turn 4, let the car slide up off the turn. From some other people that were down in that area, they said that Charlie had lifted to try to cross him over, wasn't able to do it smooth enough. They did make a little bit of contact, front bumper to rear bumper. Charlie did get underneath of him, but he could not beat him to the line. Chad Holman narrowly edged out the victory in the late model feature. I was blown away. Everybody was going nuts in the crowd. I was high-fiving and going nuts with everybody that I was with at that time. It was a fantastic race, and just another notch in Chad's belt for the year. He said that he very, very much wanted to win this race, as just about everybody does, the Outlaw 200 weekend event, and he got it done. So Chad Holman was your victor in that feature event. Charlie Sandercock finished in second. Andrew Hennessy was third. Jimmy Johnson, no, not the NASCAR Jimmy Johnson, finished in fourth, and Steve Baldwin was fifth. Sam Panaccio finished in sixth. Kyle Sopaz was seventh. Although he is not listed here in the results, I know he finished here because he's my landlord. Sean Beardsley finished in 8th, Brandon Moet was 9th, and Jason Knowles rounded out your top 10. A little bit of drama in that race between Dale Caswell, and looking through the results here, I believe it was Brian Knowles saying that he's disqualified. A little bit of drama between the two of them. They were doing a little bit of beating and banging throughout the feature. They were, after some of the contact that had happened, they were 3 wide heading into turn 3. Knowles was on the outside. Caswell was in the middle. There was another car to the inside. And at least to me, it was pretty obvious. Dale just came up and hit him and turned him around. Brian was not at all happy about that, so he retaliated against Dale under caution, tore up the right side of his car on the front stretch pretty good. They ended up sending Knowles to the pits, disqualified him. Dale Caswell was sent to the back for his involvement. He ended up coming back to finish in 12th, so not a fantastic finish for Dale. But at least he was still able to finish, unlike Brian. So gotta love a little bit of dirt track racing controversy and some hurt feelings in there as well. The other main event action that happened on Friday night were the 4 modified qualifiers. Now, the modifieds, they don't, for Outlaw 200 weekend, they don't have a major program until Saturday, but they do have some racing action on Friday night. They run 4 15-lap qualifiers. The only way to qualify for the show in those qualifiers is to win. The 4 winners of those qualifiers are guaranteed spots 17, 18, 19, and 20 in the starting field. Most of the time, those drivers who do qualify will still run their heat races and try to qualify on Saturday because they can better their starting position. But if they qualify worse, or if they just decide not to do it at all, which really isn't most of the case, they at least have that starting spot to fall back on. So those 4 qualifiers were won. The first one was won by Peter Britton. Second one was won by Stuart Friesen. Yes, that is the same Stuart Friesen that competes in the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Third one was won by Larry White, probably the best of the 4 races. And qualifier number 4 was won by Ronnie Davis III. I want to go back to qualifier 3 there for just a quick moment. Fantastic battle for that win between Larry White, Rocky Warner, and Tommy Sears. Rocky Warner and Tommy Sears were battling it out for that spot late in the race. Rocky ended up getting into Tommy, kind of pushed him up the track a little bit, sailed off into the lead. But here came Lightning Larry White, got around him within the last lap or 2, stole the qualifier win, and locked himself into the event. The only other division that was racing this weekend that did not have major racing action was the Dirt Car Sportsman Series. On Fridays, they qualify. They have their time trials, they have their heat races, and they have their consolations on Friday. Saturday, they have LCQs, and after the LCQs, then go the main event. So a very, very healthy field of Sportsman modifieds showed up for that event, as they always do. I heard that there were 88 cars in the pits that competed for that event. They ended up having 10 heat races, 5 consolation races, and 3 last chance qualifiers. Now, with that many cars and those many races, usually means that there's few opportunities to qualify for the field. And there were. Each heat race only qualified 2 cars, with the winner going to the redraw. And after that, if you did not win, you did not go to the feature. You had to win your consolation. You had to win your last chance qualifier. And if you did not do that, you were going home. as I said at the beginning of the show, my brother races Sportsman. My landlord, who had competed in the late model event, also ran a Sportsman for this weekend, and unfortunately neither of them qualified. They both drew, ironically enough, the two of them drew 1-2. My brother drew the number 1 pill. My landlord drew number 2. Would have been great had it not been a time trial show, but it at least sets their groups that way. So they timed 4th and 5th in their hot laps, or in their time trial session. My brother, I believe he ended up finishing in 4. Why am I questioning it? I got the results right in front of me. He ended up finishing in 4th. My brother finished 4th. Sean Beardsley, my landlord, finished in 5th. So the two of them did not qualify through the heat race. That put them into the consolation. Unfortunately, my brother ran into some issues in his consolation race. He self-spun in turn 3, probably 3 or 4 laps into the race, but he was able to pick up some positions and was able to come back up to finish in 8th. Sean finished in 3rd, had a much better consolation than my brother. They were split up into last chance qualifiers on Saturday. My brother ran in the first one, and Sean ran in the third one. Sadly, neither of them made the field in either of those. Let's see. The consolation. There we go. They're the last chance qualifiers. Sean ended up finishing in 2nd in LCQ number 3. Tyler Corcoran won that one. He was just gone. Nobody had much to compete with him in that one. The first one, my brother had to start all the way back in 11th because of the spin in the 8th place finish in his consolation. Was able to work his way all the way up to 5th place, so he made a lot of good passes, looked really good, but you have to win. And he didn't win, so he ended up coming up to the grandstands and watching the rest of the event with us. Their feature race was, for the most part, it was fairly decent. I would grade it. Good number of cautions throughout there. There was a portion in the middle of the race where they did get a lot of green flag laps in. The best battles all throughout really the race was up front with Kyle Inman and Matt Janzik. Janzik took the lead early. I think he redrew 2nd, so he had a great starting spot to take advantage of, and he did so, took the lead early, led a bunch of laps, but Kyle Inman also had a fairly solid redraw position. Just couldn't make the move for the majority of the race as it came down towards the end. He was able to get around Matt Janzik for the lead, held him off, and took the Outlaw 200 weekend victory for the Sportsman, beating Matt Janzik, who did finish in 2nd place. Brad Rouse was 3rd. Brad Rouse had one hell of a weekend. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had mentioned that something had broke during his time trial. So he had a terrible time trial, which put him at the back of the pack for his heat race. Did not qualify for the heat race. Did not qualify through the consolation. Did not qualify through the last chance qualifier, but with it being a Dirt Car Sportsman Series race, he did have a provisional to start in the field. So he started towards the back of the pack, made his way all the way up through the field to finish in 3rd in the 50-lap feature. So that was extremely impressive and not all that surprising out of Brad. Brad is one of the top drivers in Sportsman. Chris Mackey finished in 4th, and Jackson Gill, the Burton Speedway track champion, finished in 5th. Bob Henry Jr., Tyler Corcoran, Jack Meeks, Zach Sabatka, and Alan Fink rounded out your top 10 for the Sportsman Shootout 50. And that just leaves us with one race to go. The big 200-lap Outlaw 200, $20,000 to win event that capped off the show on Saturday night. It was an extremely good race. They ended up having 69 modifieds attempt to qualify for the show. That was good enough for 8 heat races, 4 consolations, and they did run a last chance qualifier as they did with the Sportsman. In the heat races, they qualified 4, took the winner to the redraw. The consolations, they took top 3 in the consolation events, and they also took top 3 in the last chance qualifier. Redraw results put Gary Tompkins out on the pole, and he led a good portion of the race. I think he lost the lead on lap 47, so he was able to hang on to the lead through that portion of the race. Now, they do count caution laps during the Outlaw 200 up until lap 175. So a lot of not a lot of those laps, but there were some cautions in the early portions of the race, so a good number of laps were ticked off from that. But they ended up having a nice long green flag run to the halfway break. Gary Tompkins lost the lead to Matt Shepard. Matt Shepard redrew in third for winning his heat race and took the lead from Tompkins. Didn't really look back. He had some challenges from Michael Maresca throughout the later stages of the first half of the race, but was not able to get by Matt. Matt ended up taking the halfway break in the lead. They have a 15-minute break to make adjustments to the car, do whatever that they have to do, with it being a 200-lap race and no availability to really do a hot pit scenario. They throw a caution at halfway, allow the drivers to adjust and do whatever, and they head back out. They did do a little bit of track prep in between, not too much. The track stayed the same between the two halves, but the running order absolutely changed. Michael Maresca took over the lead from Matt Shepard not too long into the second half of that race, and Shepard just absolutely tanked like a rock. Whatever adjustments they made on that 9S were not the right ones, and he dropped dramatically throughout the field. Not exactly sure. He still had a top 10 finish, but did not fare too well compared to where he had. The race up front was very good. Michael Maresca leading the majority of the second half of the race. Then you had Matt Williamson and Tim Sears Jr. starting to reel him in, but all of it went away when there was a caution that flew with about 11 or 12 laps to go. So it set up a shootout. Everybody bunched back up. I believe it was a single file restart at that point. And away they went. One of the big topics throughout the event was the battle between big blocks and small blocks. You can obviously run both. It is a big block show, but there are advantages to running a small block, especially at Fulton when the track sticks out so much. You really don't need all that power on a track that sticks out like Fulton does. So there were a handful of small block modifieds that showed up and competed, and a lot of them did very well, including race winner Michael Maresca. It was his first ever Outlaw 200 victory, the biggest win of his career. He took home the $20,000 payday over Canadian driver Matt Williamson. Maresca was in a small block. I'm pretty confident in saying that Williamson was the lone big block in the top 5. Tim Sears Jr. in a small block was 3rd. Stuart Friesen's small block was 4th. And I think, I wasn't able to get complete confirmation, but I think Tim Fuller was also in a small block. He finished in 5th. Matt Shepard in 6th. Larry White 7th. Danny Johnson 8th. Dave Marcichelli 9th. And Chad Brockman finished in 10th. Chad Brockman was the recipient of the Hard Charger Award. There were actually 2 of them. There was a drum of VP Race Fuel for a Hard Charger, and Larkin Mowing also put up $50 for a Hard Charger. He won them both. He started dead last on the field. He did not qualify for that race on Saturday. He actually had to rely on a provisional starting spot that he had earned from a previous race at a different racetrack. So to start complete scratch on the field, he was able to move all the way up through and finish in 10th, survived the mayhem, and outlasted to come home in 10th place. So that really wraps everything up for Outlaw 200 weekend coverage. It was a very cold weekend of racing. It was 88 degrees here last Tuesday and ended up dropping out into the 30s Friday night, which is just absolutely crazy. Just a crazy drop, but it's usually how Fulton Speedway in October Outlaw 200 weekend sees. So nothing too out of the norm there, but it was a fantastic weekend. Lots of really good racing, and it's just for me, it's the unofficial start to Super Dirt Week. Super Dirt Week starts this week, while the Outlaw 200 weekend is not considered part of the Super Dirt Week event. At least in my mind, I look at it as the unofficial kickoff. Finished racing on Saturday. We had yesterday and today completely off, and everything starts tomorrow with Super Dirt Week racing at Utica Rome Speedway, which should be fantastic. So jumping gears, we had a elimination race for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Dover International Speedway this weekend. It was the start of the round of 12 for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Now, I honestly didn't watch any of the Xfinity race because I was at Fulton, but I at least want to discuss this weekend's racing because it's NASCAR, and NASCAR, I'll come forward and I'll say it right now, NASCAR is my favorite form of racing. I don't differentiate between pavement or dirt. Really doesn't make much of a difference to me. I can get more into that topic in that discussion later on. But NASCAR for me is my absolute favorite form of racing. So we'll tackle it. Let's see here. That was win number 7 on the year for the 00 machine of Cole Custer, taming the Monster Mile. I have to pull the results back up. Taming the Monster Mile on Saturday afternoon. Justin Allgaier finished in second. Austin Cindric third. Justin Haley fourth. Chase Briscoe rounded out the top 5 with Michael Annett, Noah Gragson, John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, and Ryan Sieg in your top 10. With that being an elimination race, 4 drivers were knocked out of the playoffs for the year. Those drivers were John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Haley, Ryan Sieg, and Brandon Jones. Surprisingly, 3 of those 4 drivers did have top 10 finishes, but what had happened earlier in the round was not good enough for them to advance. So they were kicked out. They will pick up racing again, not this upcoming weekend, but next. Is that right? Yes, next weekend at Kansas Speedway. The 8 drivers remaining after the reseeding, Christopher Bell will walk into Kansas with a 12-point lead over Cole Custer. Tyler Reddick will be third with an 18-point deficit. 45 points back is Austin Cindric. Justin Allgaier is 5th, 48 points back. Chase Briscoe 6th, 49 points back. Michael Annett 7th, 53 back. And Noah Gragson, the final playoff driver, in 8th place, 57 points behind leader Christopher Bell. Those drivers will race for 3 more events, and then we will have the Championship 4 set for Homestead on November 16th for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. That was a doubleheader weekend for the major NASCAR Touring Series. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series also racing at the Monster Mile. I was able to catch portions of this race, unlike the Xfinity Series race. From what I was able to tell, fairly entertaining race. Drama picked off right off the bat as Joey Logano, I think broke a rear axle before the green flag had even flown, reminiscent of issues that Jimmy Johnson had, I think, 2017 at Dover. So he started off the round of 12 extremely bad, but not looking all that bad after everything was said and done. Fortunately for him, other playoff drivers also had some issues, one of those being Chase Elliott, who blew a motor, 8 laps into the race, so his day was done just basically off from the start. Ryan Blaney, unfortunately, also had issues. Ryan Blaney is my driver. I thought I heard that it was a brake issue, but then I thought I also heard that it was possibly a motor. But either way, he DNF'd. And is the worst seated driver heading into Talladega this weekend. But the driver who came out of there with the best looking playoff position was who they call Young Money on the dirt tracks, and it was Kyle Larson snapping a 75 race winless streak to go to victory lane at Dover International Speedway. Awesome to see him back in victory lane. It's been a long time coming, and now he goes to the round of 8 in the playoffs for the very first time. He has never been to the round of 8 ever before. He's always had issues in this round with the playoffs. Now he gets to surpass it. So Kyle Larson picked up the victory. Martin Truex Jr. was second. Alex Bowman third. Kevin Harvick in fourth. Denny Hamlin, who was your Stage 1 winner, and and led a lot of laps, also sat on the pole, finished in 5th. Kyle Busch 6th. Another fantastic run by Matt DiBenedetto, who came home in 7th. Jimmy Johnson finished in 8th. A great run for that team. He basically owns Dover International Speedway, so to see him finish as well as he did is no surprise. Kurt Busch 9th, and Clint Bowyer rounded out your top 10. The playoff grid heading into this week's race at Talladega. Obviously, Kyle Larson is up at top for winning the race. Martin Truex Jr. is second with a 63-point advantage. Denny Hamlin is third with a 48. Actually, the two of them are tied. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch are tied for third place. I'm assuming that Denny has a tiebreaker, seeing that he's ahead of Kyle. Both of them are 48 points ahead. Fifth place is Kevin Harvick, 42 points ahead of the cut. Brad Keselowski is 6th, 20 points up. Alex Bowman 7th, 17 up. And right on the cusp, this is where I was talking about with Joey Logano's not so bad day after all. William Byron is 8th. He is the cut line because him and Joey Logano are tied for the final spot, but the tiebreaker goes to William Byron because he had the better finish in the round so far. So Joey Logano is the first driver outside. He is at a 0-point deficit despite having rear axle issues and finishing, I think it was 25 laps down yesterday. Clint Bowyer is 10th, only 4 points out. Chase Elliott, surprisingly, with his bad day, finishing dead last on the field. He's only 7 points out of the championship picture heading into Talladega, where, oh, by the way, he won at in the spring. And Ryan Blaney, unfortunately, the worst in 12th, 22 points back. Very much possible to make up 22 points in 2 races. We'll just have to see how Talladega goes. Should be pretty wild and crazy. Talladega is personally my number 1 favorite racetrack on the schedule. Sadly, I will not be able to catch it because Super Dirt Week is this week, and Super Dirt Week Sunday is the same day. This year they were able to get their events back on normal track. The Outlaw 200 is usually always the first weekend in October. Super Dirt Week is usually the second. But with the way that the schedule or the calendar fell, they bumped both of those weekends up a week for like the last 2 or 3 years. Now they're back in their normal spots. So now Super Dirt Week conflicts with Talladega, which sucks. But hey, what are you gonna do? So that's basically all of the. Actually, that's not all of the NASCAR coverage. I wanted to make mention also, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East also competed at Dover International Speedway this past weekend. It was their season finale. We'll see if I can pull up these results. Yes, I can. It was their season finale, at least for the points, I believe I heard. I was kind of listening in on Dave Moody's show on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, and it sounded like that was the case. If not, I'm sure somebody will correct me. Jacker Jones was pole sitter. Is that right? Oh, you know what? I'm probably looking at the wrong event. Saturday, September. Yeah, that's not. Oh, I clicked on K&N West. All right, hang on 1 second. Let's get caught up here. Why did it not switch to K&N East? All right. Hold this thought 1 second. Let me back up here. Let me back up real quick. East standings. All right, that works. Probably a safe place to go. Well, I can pull up the championship standings for the event. But I had heard that basically by starting the event, Sam Mayer was awarded the championship. 12-race season, 4 wins, 11 top 5s, and 11 top 10s. That's how you win a championship, my friends. Finishing outside the top 10 once all season long makes sense to be crowned your champion. Chase Cabry was second in the point standings. Tanner Gray, his first full-time season in K&N, he is the former NHRA drag racer. He finished third in points, 53. Actually, he tied for third in points with Spencer Davis, but he's showing up ahead of Spencer, at least on this source. I don't know if that is completely accurate or not. I don't know how they decide tiebreakers. But Tanner Gray and Spencer Davis, either third or fourth, interchanged the two of them, however. Max McLaughlin finished in 5th in points. Ruben Garcia Jr. was 6th. Derek Kraus 7th. Colin Garrett 8th. Drew Dollar 9th. Haley Deegan 10th in K&N East Series points. Only the top 6 competed in all 12 races. Everybody else on down missed races at some point. Checking in with the live stream chat, somebody has provided me with the results for that race, so thank you very much for that. Sam Mayer did win the event. All from what I had heard, all he really had to do was start the race to win the championship. He did more than that. He got the win. 14 cars started. Tanner Gray was second. Todd Gilliland third. Drew Dollar finished in fourth, and Chase Cabry rounded out your top 5. Max McLaughlin, Spencer Davis, Ruben Garcia Jr., Brandon McReynolds, Justin Carroll, the top 10. And then, since there's only 14 cars, let's see, Josh Finopoulos, I will go with. Josh Finopoulos finished in 11th. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Bill Hoff, 12th. Sam Hunt, 13th. And Stephen Parsons rounded out the 14-car field for that event. So, yeah, that is all of the NASCAR coverage from the Monster Mile. We've got a NASCAR doubleheader this weekend at Talladega Superspeedway. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series will compete on the 2.66 mile Superspeedway on Sunday, as it is the middle race of the round of 12. And we have the NASCAR Gainer Outdoors Truck Series returning to competition for the first time in just about a month to kick off their round of 6 in the playoffs, as both them and the Xfinity Series have just 4 races left to go in their season. Dover International Speedway was not the only pavement racetrack to see action this weekend. A massive event going on at the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. Or actually, technically, I think that's Ridgeway, Virginia. I was there. I would know. I think it's actually in Ridgeway. The Valley Star Credit Union 300, the biggest late model stock car event of the season, that happened on Saturday. That event was won by Josh Berry. Josh Berry killed the field this weekend at Martinsville Speedway. He led the entire race. Led the whole thing. The whole 300-lapper. It was all his. So, just incredible domination. Incredible domination by Josh Berry. Picked up his first win in that event. His biggest win of his career. In late model stock car racing, started on the pole, led the whole thing, took the checkered flag. Lee Podium finished in second. Former NASCAR Gainer Outdoors Truck Series driver Timothy Peters finished in third. Bobby McCarty was fourth, and Bubba Pollard, racing for Junior Motorsports, finished in fifth place. Bubba Pollard, probably definitely one of, if not the most well-known super late model driver that races on the pavement. Got a ride with Junior Motorsports, was able to come home with a solid finish. I'd like to show you guys a quick little snippet from that event. There was actually a flip during that event, which, hearing it for the first time, you kind of have to do a double check hearing that a car flipped over at Martinsville Speedway. But it actually happened. With 68 laps to go, 14-year-old driver Taylor Gray went upside down after contact with a spinning vehicle in turn number 2. We'll blow it up. I'll warn you now, the footage isn't all that fantastic. It's a little poopy, but we'll start it here. We'll play it here for you guys. You're going to want to watch this portion of the screen. This car right here, the black and white DGR Crosley machine, that is Taylor Gray. So you see, car in front of him gets a little sideways. He hits the left front and launches upside down, flips it over once and a half, lands on his roof. Apparently they had to cut him out of the cage in order for him to get out of the car. They tilted the car up on his side, chopped it up, and then he was able to get out. We'll replay it here one more time for you. Watch here. Car in front gets sideways. He hits, and it launches him upside down. Flips over once and a half, lands on his roof. Fortunately, he was okay, but definitely a wild incident for Martinsville Speedway. That video posted to Twitter by Race22.com. The video was sent to them, so I don't know who shot that video originally, but we'll give credit where the credit is due. So that all went down Saturday at the Martinsville Speedway. Other local track racing that we had going on this past weekend. We had, well, I guess I can't really call that local racing so much as they are some major racing series. I thought I had, yes I did. The Champion Racing Oil National Open at Williams Grove Speedway for the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars also going on this past weekend. I've been to Williams Grove a time or two. Not going down to Williams Grove during Outlaw 200 weekend, but they had a massive event going on down there. 2-day show. The first day was won by David Gravel. David started on the pole, picked up the $10,000 to win event, 25-lap feature. Lance DeWeese finished in second. Donnie Schatz finished in third. Giovanni Selzy was fourth. And rounding out the top five is the 2019 Ollie's Bargain Outlets All-Star Circuit of Champions champion, Aaron Reitzel. Danny Dietrich was sixth. Brian Brown seventh. Darren Pittman eighth. Matt Campbell ninth. And Brad Sweet came home in the 10th position. Brad Sweet also was the hard, I think he won the Hard Charger Award that race. Yes, he did. He won the KC Hard Charger Award, started in 20th, finished in 10th, so he gained 10 spots on the field that night. Night number 2, which is the bigger of the two nights, that event paid a whopping $65,000 to win. And that one was won by Brent Marks. Brent Marks picking up the Champion Racing Oil National Open victory on Saturday night at the Williams Grove Speedway. Darren Pittman was in second. Donnie Schatz with another third-place finish. Very consistent weekend for him. Aaron Reitzel finished in fourth. David Gravel rounding out the top five. And that one, Freddie Raymer was sixth. Brian Brown seventh. Brian Monteith eighth. Brad Sweet was ninth. And Sheldon Haudenschild rounded out the top 10 on night number 2. KSC Hard Charger Award, for those that care, was Brian Monteith. Picked up 18 positions to finish in 8th from 26th. At this time of the year, everybody's starting to wrap things down in the racing world, and that is also the case with the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series. After these events, at least I'm going to assume that it is after these events. I don't really have much of a confirmation on that, to be completely honest. But at least off of the website, Brad Sweet with a 14-point lead over Donnie Schatz. I'm sure somebody in the live chat will correct me if I'm wrong. Donnie Schatz, 14 points behind Brad Sweet in the point standings. David Gravel, 88 points back. Those are really the only three guys that have a shot at winning the championship. They are getting down towards the end of the season here. Their next events, they will be racing twice this upcoming weekend. They will race at Terre Haute Action Track Saturday, October 12th in Terre Haute, Indiana for the Wabash Clash. Hope I said that correctly. And then they will compete again on Sunday in Hobstadt, Indiana at the Tri-State Speedway. So a doubleheader weekend this weekend for the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series. As I had previously mentioned, the All-Star Circuit of Champions have already wrapped up their season. Aaron Reitzel with a dominating season picked up the championship there. For you late model fans, there was some late model racing going on as well. The Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series competed in 2 events this weekend. The first one happening at Raceway 7. I was once told how to pronounce this town name, so I completely apologize if it's wrong, but I think it's Coniote? I don't know. I'm sorry. You know where it is. Ohio. That race was won by Kyle Bronson. I had a friend, a good race chasing friend of mine that went to that event. It was his first time going to Raceway 7. He said the race was absolutely fantastic. So Kyle Bronson picking up the victory in that event, $12,700 richer. Tim McCready, local guy to me here in central New York, was second. Josh Richards third. Hudson O'Neal fourth. Jonathan Davenport picked up the fifth place finish. Then the 2018 World of Outlaws champion Mike Marlar was sixth. Mason Ziegler seventh. Tyler Erb eighth. Max Blair ninth. And Doug Drown rounded out the top 10. Their second event of the weekend came further into Pennsylvania. Corrected myself there. The Pittsburgher 100 was Saturday night. And this was where I got confused when I first heard this, because over the last few years where... okay, just got confirmation from somebody in chat that nobody really cares how that town is pronounced. So, works for me. This is where I got confused when I first heard this, because usually I'm used to the Pittsburgher 100 going on during Super Dirt Week, because the last few years, Tim McCready, who is from Watertown, New York, here in the central New York, well, I mean, that's northern New York, but familiar to us here in the central New York area, he usually has to qualify himself into the Super Dirt Week finale on Thursday, because he has to go out to Pennsylvania to run the Pittsburgher. That is no longer an issue. Well, actually, it will be an. Oh no, that's a TV schedule. I will look at their schedule here in a moment. But I want to give you these race results. Don O'Neill picked up the Pittsburgher 100 victory on Saturday night. $20,000 to win that one. Earl Pearson Jr. was second. Tim McCready, as previously mentioned, finished in third. Jimmy Owens was fourth, and Greg Satterley finished in fifth place. Tyler Erb, 6th, Billy Moyer Jr. in 7th, Scott Bloomquist 8th, Jonathan Davenport 9th, and Hudson O'Neal finished in the top 10 in the Pittsburgher 100. Current point standings. As of right now, Jonathan Davenport is leading Tim McCready by a lot. That is well over 400 points. Quick math is going to tell me that's a 445-point lead over Tim McCready. Josh Richards is third, Tyler Erb fourth, and Jimmy Owens is fifth. Checking out their tour schedule to answer the questions that I had previously said, they are racing twice this weekend. So I'm going to make the assumption that Tim McCready will not be at Super Dirt Week this weekend. The Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series will be competing at the Dixie Speedway in Woodstock, Georgia, on Saturday, October 12th for the Lucas Oil Dixie Shootout. That is a $12,000 to win event. And then their penultimate... let's call it the penultimate event, because they have a two-day show next weekend to wrap up their season. Rome Speedway, Sunday, October 13th in Rome, Georgia for the Lucas Oil Rome Showdown. That is a $10,000 to win event. That will be their penultimate event, their third to last race of the season. Portsmouth Raceway Park will close out the season next weekend for those teams and drivers. So yeah, I think that is a fair assumption to say that Tim McCready will not be at Super Dirt Week this week. One thing that I would like to rewind to very quickly in the NASCAR world, some news dropping earlier today that the very first next-gen race car in NASCAR is going to be tested this week at Richmond Raceway. For those that may not know, the next-gen race car is essentially the Gen 7 NASCAR Cup car. Next Gen is the name that is being named the car instead of saying Gen 7. That is going to hit the track tomorrow and Wednesday at Richmond Raceway for a test. The test is going to be completely secluded to the public. Richard Childress Racing has been building that car, and it has been said that Austin Dillon is going to be the driver of the next-gen car. The next-gen car is set to debut in the sport in 2021. Mainly, it is a cost-saving measure. NASCAR is doing a lot of things to save these teams money, and this next gen race car is one of them. It's obviously going to be a work in progress, and of course the initial cost to transition over to that car is going to cost money, but in the long run, it is expected to save these teams money moving forward. And with a new race car, could also help produce some better racing on the racetrack. I know one of the things that they are trying to do with this new car is to help make it look more like the car that is on the roads. Right now, there's really not a whole lot of correlation between the NASCAR race cars and today's daily drivers. They're basically the same greenhouse area with manufacturer-styled front bumpers and rear bumpers. That's basically it. So it'll be very interesting to see how this project works. Obviously, a lot of time to come, and with this being so secluded to the public, I highly doubt that we are going to get any footage or visuals of what this car looks like. If we do, somebody is probably going to get in a lot of trouble. So I guess we'll see what information we get out of that, if any at all. Again, this is very new information. Is the first time that that the car is going to hit the racetrack, and like I said, it's supposed to debut in 2021. So we'll see what happens with that. Before I decide to open this up to all of you, we will transition now back into the dirt racing world. Some news coming out towards the top of this show from modified driver Matt Shepard on his plans for Super Dirt Week this week, posting on his fan page, quote, "We are not racing any of the satellite shows. We will only be racing at Oswego with the big block and Afton for the short track Super Series. So Matt Shepard will not be competing at any of the satellite shows at Super Dirt Week this week. He will only be competing in the big block at Oswego," which I'm assuming that means he's not going to be racing the small block at Oswego. He'll also be racing the short track Super Series event at Afton Motorsports Park. Some articles coming out about that earlier today. Matt Shepard is going to try to become a very rich man over the next few weeks. Matt Shepard is a regular on both the Super Dirt Car Series and both of the Short Track Super Series schedules. For those that are unfamiliar, the Short Track Super Series is another touring big block modified division here in the Northeast that runs throughout the year. They don't run as many events as the Super Dirt Car Series does, but there's a lot of money on the line in those events, and Matt Shepard is looking to claim all of it. He is currently the leader in both the North Region and the South Region points, and is trying to win both of the championships. Now, there is a $57,500 earnings on the line if one driver were to sweep all three major championships. The first one being the Short Track Super Series South Region, the Short Track Super Series North Region, and the American Racer Cup. I'll be completely honest, I'm not super informed on what the American Racer Cup is. I think it's some points series that's based off of local home track points. So he has already clinched that. He has already clinched the American Racer Cup. He's trying to win both the Short Track Super Series South and North regions. If he's able to do that, he will pick up a $57,500 payday. The Short Track Super Series South region points are just about locked up. I'm looking through this article here. The only event left in that series is the Mid-Atlantic Championship weekend at Georgetown Speedway in Georgetown, Delaware. That will be going on November 1st and 2nd. Matt Shepard has a 103-point advantage over Ryan Watt. There is a 90-point swing between first and last in the championship point breakdown. So all that Matt Shepard has to do is take the green flag, and he will clinch that championship. Things are a little bit different on the north side, though. The North Championship will be decided in a few weeks at the Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. But this weekend, as previously mentioned, the let's see here, Short Track Super Nationals will be going on at Afton Motorsports Park. Matt Shepard is the points leader in that as well, as mentioned, but he only has a 3-point lead over Stuart Friesen. Now, the kicker to that is that Stuart Friesen on Saturday will be in Talladega to compete in the truck race at Talladega Super Speedway, but the point standings are still close in that for everybody else. He has a 17-point advantage over Andy Bicchetti, 41 points over Matt Williamson, and then 45 points over Mike Guler. So much tighter in the North region. They will race this weekend, and then they will finish their season, I believe, next weekend at the Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. Scratch that, 2 weekends. Thursday, October 24th will be the season finale for the Short Track Super Series North region. So some important information there about one of Northeast Big Block Modified Racing's biggest stars. Matt Shepard will not be competing in any satellite shows this week during Super Dirt Week. He will only stay at Oswego with the Big Block, and he'll be racing at Motorsports Park for the Short Track Super Series as well. So at this point in the show, I would like to turn things over to those of you who are watching our live stream on Twitch. Anything that you guys would like to mention or include in tonight's show, questions for me, your plans on what you are doing this upcoming weekend for race chasing, what you did this past weekend in race chasing, anything like that. Anybody who is out in the live Twitch world right now tuning into our very first episode of the Chasing the Racing podcast, that would like to send anything in. This is your time to shine, your opportunity to get involved with the show. This will be something that we do every week during the show to get the fans involved. I do look at this as a podcast, so it's kind of a lot of this is me just sharing out information and things that I'm going on and doing. But I would like to cater to the live viewers at some point. And of course, those that are watching on YouTube, feel free to share your thoughts, information, whatever it is that you would like to chime in. We've got Wild Child R19 popping in here. Fast Track Pro Late models are going to the Charlotte Dirt Track in 2020. That's pretty cool. More racing for the Charlotte Dirt Track in 2020. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've been down to Charlotte for the World Finals the last 2 years. Will be making the trip again next month. Cannot wait for that. I love going down to that area. I hope that the majority, if not every race fan out there, has the World Finals on their bucket list because it is fantastic. The World Finals is awesome. Definitely something that you're going to want to check out at some point in your lifetime. There have been rumors, this is coming from Clinch0043, there have been rumors that Dunn Benson have sold their car dealership and will be closing the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model team after this season. Remind my silly little self who Dunn Benson fields a car for. I gotta be honest, I don't recognize that name. Maybe that's my Devin Moran. Oh, okay, all right, Devin Moran. That I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this was his first year racing with that team, was it not? I know he's moved over to the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series from the World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series, and it was his first year. So Devin Moran could be on the outs, looking for a new ride for 2020 as well. So that's unfortunate news for Devin Moran. I've enjoyed watching Devin Moran. I've seen him, I went to a handful of World of Outlaws races last year, saw him race, and he's pretty damn fun to watch. He's fun. He's very fun to watch. Good driver. So if that is true, obviously, as said in here, just rumors. I have nothing to back it up and nothing to confirm, but just rumors speculating now that Devin Moran could be looking for a new ride. Mod Chaser Mitch chimes in, says this weekend World Series of Asphalt Racing at Thompson, 20 divisions of racing, 3 days of racing. Very nice. And he linked a schedule here for me. So we got NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour running, the NASCAR Wheeling All-American Series, a bunch of other series that are abbreviated that I have no idea what they are. I know we got, we got some street stocks going on, SK Lights, mini stocks, late models. definitely going to be a big weekend of racing out at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park if you're in that area. This schedule starts Friday, so I'm assuming. Oh, this is just. Oh, look at that! I'm just looking at Friday's schedule. If I scroll a little bit, I'll be able to see more. Holy cow! Look at all the racing going on at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park this weekend. Wow. ISMA Modifieds. NEMA Lights. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of racing. That would be a very, very good weekend to go out to if I wasn't already preoccupied with Super Dirt Week. One day I will head out there. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm a ridiculous race chaser. I love traveling around. Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park is definitely an event or a racetrack that I have not been to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that in Connecticut, I believe? I'm just looking at, just going off of my head. I've got nothing set in stone, nothing that I'm looking at right here in front of me, but Connecticut. Yes, it is Connecticut. Okay. Connecticut is one of the states that I have never been to for race chasing. I was very disappointed to find out that Rhode Island does not have a racetrack because one of my race chasing goals is I would love to see a race in all 50 states. I can't do that if there's not a racetrack in Rhode Island, so I guess we'll shoot for 49, unless maybe an indoor race or something temporary pops up in there and we can make it happen, but we'll figure it out. That's what I thought. Thompson, Connecticut. I believe that's what I thought. See, but I was told that Rhode Island doesn't have a racetrack, and I'm going off of, so I'm sure anybody that watches NASCAR knows that there is NASCAR or NBC does their grassroots thing, my track, my roots, and they had said that they do not have a racetrack on that show, so that's what I. And sure enough, Clinch mentions that they have a racetrack and NASCAR featured it. So I'm interested. I hope this is true because I would love to bring that to life and be set in stone that is the truth. Let's see here. Other rumors are that next year's 50th World 100 will either pay $1 billion to win. One. I believe that's supposed to be $1 million to win, or total purse. Have heard a mix of both. 1 million. Oh, if I would have read down, I think I would. There were too many. Yes. My God. See, originally that's what I thought that the Dirt Million was supposed to be when it debuted last year. Was $1 million to win, but I guess that was just $1 million purse. That's just insane. That's insane. The amount of money that's in racing right now is just absolutely insane. I know, what was it? Eldora bumped up their purse, I think, for the Kings Royal, was it? The Knoxville Nationals paid way more than it ever had in the past. Insane. Let's see, getting another link posted here. Sammy Swindell, 10-7, that's today. Sammy Swindell earns first career pavement winged midget victory to extend winning streak to 49 straight years. Dude, I just hope eventually I'm able to race for 49 years in a row, let alone win 49 years in a row. That's awesome. Lee, New Hampshire, so that would be Lee USA Speedway, yep. Lee USA Speedway picking up a pavement winged midget victory to continue a win streak of 49 consecutive years. That is absolutely incredible. A true legend in the world of racing, Sammy Swindell. Never, ever fails to impress. Eldora bumped both the Kings Royal and the Dirt Late Model Dream this year. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I forgot about the Dirt Late Model Dream, but I did remember that they bumped up at least the Kings Royal. Unbelievable, the amount of money that's in racing today. Makes me jealous. Makes me wish that I was a full-time driver even more. So any final thoughts from the nation here? Anybody doing anything fun? I know I'll kind of drop the fun, I guess, here. Wild Child's actually sitting across the room here from me. I brought him here for Super Dirt Week, so I'm pretty stoked for that. So I know what he's doing. I know what I'm doing. I'll get to that here in just a moment. Lee USA Speedway also hosted the Valenti Modified Racing Series this weekend along with the Granite State Pro Stocks. I haven't really seen a lot, but there's somebody that I have some pages on Facebook that I've liked from that area that mentions the Granite State Pro Stocks. But I think there's a driver that I have his driver page liked that also competes in that series. So I hear a little bit from the Granite State Pro Stocks. Pro Stocks are one of the things that I'm very much looking forward to this week is Super Dirt Week. One of my absolute favorite things to do during Super Dirt Week. So the nice thing with Oswego is that everybody is pitted on the outside of the racetrack. And that is to no extra cost for anybody. So if you want to walk around, check out the race cars and the haulers while they're outside of the track, you can do so for just your general admission price. When they go to race, everybody moves into the infield. So, it takes some time to load everybody in and out. They really don't do all that bad of a job doing it. It is usually a pretty quick and simple process. But you only go to the infield when you're racing, so you can walk around and check out the race cars. And one of my favorite things to do during Super Dirt Week is just to go check out all of the pro stocks. A lot of the guys, people who race Super Dirt Week in general, they get, put new bodies, new wraps, make their cars look all nice and pretty for the week. And seeing all of the gorgeous made pro stocks is just, it's one of my favorite things to do. So I'll have to try to get some photos of some cars this weekend and bring back for next week's podcast to show you guys and show that off. Michael Bilderback picked up his 4th Big 8 Series title at Oktoberfest this weekend in West Salem, Wisconsin. Only 4? Why not 5 or 6? He can only get 4? I'm just teasing. Congratulations to Michael. The Big 8 Series is a Midwest Asphalt Limited Late Model Series. Well, very, very nice. That doesn't sound like something that is easy to do. Winning something once, winning something multiple times. I have absolutely no idea what the Big 8 Series is until just now, but winning any event for the 4th time, that's pretty awesome. So congratulations to Michael Bilderback and anybody that is out there in that area of the racing world. All right, so why don't we just jump right into it? I've given you guys some information about it all, and hang on 1 second. We're gonna jump back to this here for just a moment. Got another link posted about Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park going on this weekend. So here is all right, so we'll run this down first and we'll wrap this portion of the show up. We've got a full list of features for the World Series of Speedway racing going on this week at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. The NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour will race for 150 laps. We got ISMA racing for 50 laps, ACT for 75, VMRS for 50, NEMA for 25. Sunoco Modifieds will put on a 30-lap race, 25-lap late model race, 20-lap SK Lights race, 20-lap LTD Sportsman race, 15-lap mini stock race, a 50-lap Granite State Pro Stock Series race. I'm not done. We're just about halfway through. Northeast Mini Stock Tour will race for 20. The Street Stock Showdown will race for 20. NEMA Lights will race for 20. Star Modifieds for 12. Star Sportsman for 20. Exit Realty Pro Truck Challenge for 35. Open Vintage Modified for 20. Pro 4 Modified 22. And the final one on this list, NHSTRA Late Model Sportsman for 25 laps. So let's see. That is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 different divisions. And after I counted that up, I just realized that I was told that before I had to count. But anyway, I counted anyway. 20 different divisions racing the World Series of Speedway racing this weekend at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. If you are a race fan, have nothing going on, and can afford to go there, and you don't go there, why? Get yourself examined. Go to Thompson. Okay, here's what I heard on NASCAR America the other day. Someone took a grassroots racing tour sign to the site of the first oval race in 1896 in Rhode Island so they could cross it off the list. I misheard the other day. All right. So I guess this track no longer exists. But Cranston, Rhode Island, where in 1896 the first ever oval track auto race was held. This was posted by PRN's At the Track. Very credible source. let's see, the Narragansett Park, Cranston at the Rhode Island State Fairgrounds. A 1 mile dirt oval ran from September 7th, 1896 to October 13th, 1913. A horse track built in 1867 held first ever oval track race. A. Riker won the first oval track auto race here on September 7th, 1896. An entry fee of $100 was charged, which back then was probably like a gazillion dollars to us. 50,000 race fans for the race on September 11th, 1896, 1 mile paved oval from September 18th, 1915 to August 4th, 1923. This was the first asphalt track in the country. Eddie Reichenbacher won the first race on pavement on September 18th, 1915. Milt McBride won the last, ran on August 4th, 1923. Torn down in 1925 for housing development in Cranston Stadium. Fiat Street in Cranston is the same location as the old backstretch. That was a small little excerpt from that post that PRN's at the track posted. So there was racing in Rhode Island at a time, but at least for current racetracks in Rhode Island, it does not appear that there is one now. How in the world did I go this entire show without even thinking or making mention of USAC? I love USAC. Well, let's pull that up real quick. We'll throw some USAC in here. All right. So Kevin Thomas Jr. won the USAC National Sprint Race at Lawrenceburg Saturday night. Let's pull this up here. All right. Kevin Thomas Jr. winning the USAC National Sprint Car Series race. Fine, let's see. All right, so Kevin Thomas Jr., he won, started in 5th. Tyler Courtney was 2nd, started 6th. Then Justin Grant in 3rd. CJ Leary 4th. Chris Wyndham 5th. Then you had Nick Bilby 6th. Brady Bacon 7th. Jared Andretti 8th. Scotty Ware 9th. And Chase Stockin finished in 10th. Rounding out the top 10 there, they had 22 cars complete or start that feature. I'm telling you guys, if you've never been to a USAC race before, my God, get your ass to USAC. Oh, USAC is phenomenal. I did last year. My first exposure to USAC was for the Eastern Storm event here last year. I did 5 out of the 6 Eastern Storm races. I came back up here for the Super Dirt Car Series race at my home track, Burton Speedway, and then I went back down to Pennsylvania for it. Freaking phenomenal. I was only able to do 1 Eastern Storm race this year, and then I did 2 USAC midget races. Alright, so technically I did 2 Eastern Storm races because I did the Silver Crown race at Williams Grove Friday, and then the next, which since it isn't a sprint car race, they didn't technically count it, but same difference. And then Saturday I went to Port Royal for that event. And then I did 2 of the Pennsylvania Midget Week races at the end of July at Grandview Speedway and Action Track USA in Pennsylvania. So I also saw some USAC in Florida this year when I was down there in February. So if you've never seen a USAC show before, especially if you live like in the Midwest, like Indiana, Ohio area, go to a USAC race. It will change your life, I swear. Like I don't discriminate when it comes to racing. I love just about all of it, but wingless racing is so much better, in my opinion, than winged racing. It's just phenomenal. Let's check out their schedule real quick, see when they're racing next, since we've kind of updated some of the other major racing series. They will race this Friday at the Terre Haute Action Track in Terre Haute, Indiana. And then they are off for almost a month for the USAC National Sprint Cars. And since we're on the website, Silver Crown finished up last weekend, so that is unnecessary to update on. And the midgets do not race until next weekend. They will have 2 races next weekend. So we'll have to keep that in mind for next week's show. Couldn't go to Lawrenceburg. Being on call sucks. I bet. All right, so that we'll put a wrap on that for our fan interaction portion of the show. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and giving in your input. That'll give us some things to keep in mind for next week's show for sure. Make sure that we chit-chat about some of those things going on. So before we wrap things up completely, I'll let you know what we got coming up this week. As I have mentioned many times, it is Super Dirt Week, the 48th edition of Super Dirt Week, coming up starting tomorrow with the Super Dirt Week kickoff party at Burton Speedway in Vernon, New York. Super Dirt Week is phenomenal as a whole. If you are a racing fan in general of any sort, I would highly recommend putting it on your bucket list. Come on out here to Central New York. You will not regret it. So tomorrow night, we have it kicking off Dirt Car 350, a modified series race in the Dirt Car Sportsman series. That will be the same thing for Wednesday at Weedsport Speedway. It will be the same thing on Thursday at Burton Speedway. Thursday is also when we will qualify cars for the big races at Oswego. Top 6 in time trials will qualify for the show. Friday night at Oswego Speedway is when we will have all of our heat race action. They call it Friday Night Lights. Big, long heat races for all 3 major divisions. So you have 4 racing series racing Super Dirt Week at Oswego. You got the Super Dirt Car Series, which are big block modifieds. You have the Dirt Car 358 series, modified series, Dirt Car Sportsman series, and you also have the Dirt Car Pro Stock series. Big blocks, small blocks, and the Sportsman all have heat races on Friday nights. There's a difference for the Pro Stocks. Pro Stocks will qualify. They usually qualify like 25 cars for the feature event. Let me pull up the Super Dirt Week schedule real quick. They usually qualify, I think, around that number. Oops, Super Dirt Week. Oh, no, it worked. Okay. And then they have a last chance qualifier for those who don't make it. So they don't run heat races. They just run a time trial session, and then they go into a heat race, or a LCQ. So we're pulling this up right here. I just want to make sure I'm giving you guys the proper information. That's why I care to pull this up. Let's see. 358 mods, Pro Stock, first practice. They didn't even touch the track until Saturday. Did they really do it all on? No. I'm trying to quickly look at this and scan through this to figure it out here. But that's usually what they do, is they usually end up just doing a qualifying session and then a last chance qualifier. Maybe they changed it this year, because I'm not seeing any of that in the schedule. I'm trying not to waste so much time and create a bunch of dead air by doing this, but I would rather be correct if I can than be wrong. Oh, look at that. I am wrong. Okay. All right. So I just found it. So they actually are including Pro Stock heat races in with Friday Night Lights this year. They're going to run 12-lap heat races. The 358, for those that don't know, 358s and small block modifieds are the same thing. They're just 2 different names. So you'll have 12-lap heat races for the Pro Stocks on Friday, 25 laps for the small blocks, 30 laps for the big blocks, and then 15 laps for the Sportsman. So that's a little bit new this year. And then they will run all the last chance showdowns on Saturday. You will have your small block race going on Saturday afternoon. There will be a final practice for the big blocks. Then we head on over to the Fulton Speedway for the Super Dirt Week wildcard race. That usually is a win-and-you're-in event, so anybody that isn't already locked into the big 200-lap race on Sunday, everybody goes to it. Has bounced locations in the past, but now it's at Fulton Speedway. Usually, you win the race, you get the last starting spot for the big event. This year, it will be the 41st spot, so we'll have 41 cars starting. But they've changed it up a little bit. They are now doing like differences with money and it encourages already qualified drivers to show up, and then whoever the first non-qualified driver that finishes highest, whether they win or not, they get a $1,000 bonus and a that guaranteed spot. They're also going to have 360 sprint cars racing that event instead of the World of Outlaws. Honestly, I prefer that because I think the admission price was way too much for that show to get just kind of like less than 40 cars in the pits for both divisions. It kind of seemed like a waste to me. I was planning on like, all right, I'm not going to Fulton this year. I'm going to go down to Afton. Then they announced this. It's only going to be $30 to get in. Probably a way better show than what it would have been in the past. So we're going to give it a go, and we're going to be there on Saturday. I'm extremely excited also for that event because that will be my 100th race of the year on Saturday night at Fulton Speedway. That'll be the third year in a row that I've hit 100 races. As long as the weather cooperates and we don't have any rainouts between now and then, I will hit 100 races this upcoming Saturday at Fulton Speedway, so I'm super stoked about that. And then the big show on Sunday for Super Dirt Week. You'll have a 75-lap Sportsman race, the 50-lap Pro Stock race, and then the 200-lapper for the Super Dirt Car Series, the Big Block Modifieds. Fun fact, originally that was supposed to be a 300-lap race because it used to be held at the Syracuse Fairgrounds at the Moody Mile. They were going to make it a 300-lap race because Oswego was significantly smaller than what the mile used to be. But because of weather, the first year that it went to Oswego, the weather was garbage. They had to reschedule races, and they ended up shortening all of the races, and they never went back to 300 laps. So I'm kind of bummed about that because it would be kind of cool to see a 300-lap modified race, seeing that that just does not happen anywhere. But hey, it's still Super Dirt Week. It's still freaking amazing, and it's going to be a blast. So that's what I've got coming up this week. You'll definitely have a ton of coverage about that in next week's show. We've talked about the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars racing coming up this weekend. We talked about the Lucas Oil 8 Model Dirt Series races coming up. The one thing I will just do a quick double check on, I just want to see if we've got any World of Outlaws late models racing going on this upcoming weekend before we sign off, since that we were updated on all of everything else. No, it does not look like. It looks like they are, the next time that the World of Outlaws are going to race on the late model side will be the World Finals. So they've got some time off, which, well, that actually makes sense because I think World of Outlaws guys are going to be running elsewhere this weekend, from what I heard. So that'll be pretty easy to track for next week's show. So that's all we got for this first episode of the show. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. This should be great. I'm extremely happy with how everything went. Very much want and look forward to your guys' feedback, whether you're watching this on Twitch, YouTube, whatever. Please let me know what you thought of the show, what you thought of the length. That's really one of the biggest things that I'm trying to figure out is what you guys thought of the length of the show. As I said at the top, I like longer podcasts. I don't know if everybody does. So to kind of get some feedback on the length of the show would be phenomenal. And we can kind of see what we're going from there. I just kind of winged it tonight and see how it would work. And we're at an hour, 41 minutes right now. Cut out some time for the intro, so about a little over an hour and a half of a show. I don't think that's too bad for me, in my opinion. But we'll go from there with that. Phone battery is dying, so this is a good time to end this. We do have social media links as always. If you're not already in the Facebook group, for those of you watching live, I just put that in chat. You watching on YouTube, you'll have that in the description. Join that Facebook group. That Facebook group is where we will talk about everything and anything racing related. We'll talk about the show, positives from the show, negatives from the show, things that you want to see, things that should change, things that, anything like that. I'm a big boy. I can handle negativity and criticism. Do not be afraid to say things, tell me things that you did like, tell me things that you didn't like, and we'll go from there. I need information. I need a plethora of information on how to continue to make this better and continue to grow forward with this show. So whether it's good, bad, just just let me know. Tell me what you thought. Give me your honest opinions, and we'll take it with stride and go from there. So make sure you put yourself in that Facebook group. Literally, like it's for show feedback and just in general racing talk. Breaking news that happens in the world of racing, things that you're doing, things that I'm doing, whatever. So get in there and share that. And then the YouTube channel is now in the bottom of the chat for you live viewers. You watching on YouTube, you don't need the YouTube link because you're already there. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will post all episodes on the YouTube channel to check out at any point in time. If you can't make it to the live shows, they'll be there. If you want to watch them in their entirety, watch bits and pieces, whatever you want to do there. So we will make this a weekly thing. Every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we will be here from this point forward talking about racing, everything and anything racing. So make sure you get used to this because we're not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. I promise you. This is going to be great. I'm super excited to get this started. I want to give a major shout out to my friend Brandon Smizer. He did everything graphical for this stream. Yes, it was a little bit lengthy in the start time. I had made this and dropped a teaser 3.5 months ago that I was going to do this show. But we got it here, we got it out, we got it before Super Dirt Week, which makes me really happy because I can talk about how awesome Super Dirt Week was next week. So thank you to him very much. He also does kind of some streaming. He doesn't really stream too much anymore, but he says to me that he's trying to get back into it. So I will give him a non-shameless plug in the Twitch chat. I'll also put his information in the YouTube channel as well for you guys to check that out as well. So that's really all that I have, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It very much means the world to me. I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback from the show to see what comes of this, and hopefully we'll be able to make this bigger and better. One of the things that One of the things that I didn't make mention of in this show is that eventually we will be having, I will be bringing people on to the show as guests to do some interviews, hopefully people that are inside the racing world somehow, whether it's drivers, officials, announcers, whatever it may be, bringing people into the racing world, or in here from the racing world to do interviews and to give us their perspective on racing and kind of help make this more fun. I kind of want to get into a rhythm of doing these shows before I make that happen, but I can assure you that we will make that happen at some point. Make sure to do your part too. Spread the word. Tell people. I don't care whether they're in my backyard, in your backyard, or 3/4 of the way across the globe. Share the hell out of this link everywhere. This is a show for 100% racing all across the globe, anywhere and everywhere. I want to make this big, and I'm just doing this for fun. I just want to do it for fun, talk about racing, get my voices out there, and just have some fun with it. So make sure to do your part to share the Facebook page, share this stream, share the YouTube channel, share the VOD, do anything and everything that you can to help get it out there. I do not believe that I'm going to, at least as of yet, start posting this on some of the bigger platforms, Clinch, just because I've heard that costs money, and I'm not really looking to put money to help. I just, spending money on this just doesn't sound all that intriguing to me. If there's a way around it, and I can find a way to do that, absolutely. I have no problems figuring that all out, but we'll figure that out. If it's a possibility. If not, we'll just stick to the tiny little world that we're at, and we'll have fun with what we do. So, I'll wrap it up here. We'll get this done, out of the way, and off for the night. Thank you guys again so very much for tuning in to the show. It has been a pleasure. I'm not going to worry about that. It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to the future. Have fun, whatever you're doing. Get out to a racetrack. I know it's becoming fall, it's becoming crappy, it's getting down to the end. Find a racetrack to go to, get your butt in a seat, enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, wherever it may be, and we will see you guys there. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next Monday night for episode number 2 of the Chasing the Racing podcast. Lots of Super Dirt Week coverage to come, and whatever else. Talladega, of course. Talladega as well on there, and whatever else we can find. Thank you again, guys. Have a good night. Have a good week. We'll see you next Monday.